Hi, Shahrukh.
Hi Kamil, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
All good, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Moved to Ireland in 2007. I'm born in Karachi, Pakistan.
Were there any Irish jokes around that time, or it comes after?
Yeah, it was always like friendly sense of humor. So I grew up in that. For me, like Pakistani culture is great. Exactly.
And to me, this is a big essence of this podcast, which I do is.
Yeah.
But I feel like you need to get a bigger house, bit more on countryside with your own private runway. When I was growing up,
Yeah.
my dream was to become an Air
Of
Force
course,
pilot.
Throughout my teenage, I just wanted to play cricket up till my leaving cert. Simi Singh and Yogesh Faji were the big part of my cricket here. So after under 19s, I just gave up on cricket.
Other dreams in the making.
Exactly, yeah. At that stage, like, it's a huge investment. At that stage, my father told me, like, oh, look, I don't have the money.
Being outdoor and being in the air is two different
I
things.
know, but like, still,
I tell people that I'm going for from fresh air, and you're up there in
Exactly.
10,000 feet with a window open and say, I'm getting some fresh air here.
Yeah, Ali said, okay, I'm not going. So I guess I was on my own.
Here is your solo flight. What is Alpha Bravo Charlie? Just educate our audience. If this is a career they want to explore,
Of course.
what the journey looks like.
Nice and relaxed. Next thing is the turbulence. And your airplane is like bound, like literally, And then the birds are flying straight into you, like big birds, and you're like, okay, now it's time to have a bird strike. I think from that, I got a lot of confidence.
Can you explain what's an uncontrolled and controlled airport? So it's an open WhatsApp group.
Yeah, it's an open
you
WhatsApp
communicate
group.
to everybody.
Who told you I failed? I passed. He's like, what? You passed? I was like, yeah, I passed. 6 months of ground school in Malaga. Florida was good. Malaga is great. I got my flying license before I got my driving license. Now we're moving on to multi-engine airplane. 2 engines, retractable gear, comes out and goes in.
What would be the cost if somebody wanted to pursue this career? So we'll talk about the luxury life of a pilot.
Yeah, aviation has always been expensive.
A lot of training, a lot of hard work, but there's a lot of career opportunities. Any stories being a pilot or being in the plane you want to share?
Aviation is for someone who has passion for aviation, for flying, who enjoys flying. My parents get staff travel tickets. My siblings also, like my friends, we have buddy tickets.
You have to send me one of your pictures in the uniform. You are the first Pakistani origin pilot in Ireland. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Cam MJ Show. In this episode, I had conversation with Shahrukh Ahmed. Shahrukh is the first Pakistani origin pilot in Ireland. He's a commercial pilot for the last 5 years. Shahrukh is originally from Pakistan, but he moved to Ireland when he was 11 years old. And then he chose the path to join an aviation industry, which is not a normal industry for somebody coming from an Asian background. Usually we have doctors, IT professionals, engineers, and so on. But Shahrukh has break that norm. We break down the journey of becoming a commercial pilot. So you're going to find this episode a bit more technical. You're going to learn about if you want to pursue this as a career, what journey you need to go through, what learnings, what different examinations, and so on. And it's a story of a person who wanted to be a professional cricketer, but he did not get the opportunity to reach to level where he wants to be. And then he became a commercial pilot. Shahrukh will be joining us shortly, and he's going to share his story. Hi, Shahrukh.
Hi Kamil, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
All good, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I am looking forward to learn a lot about the pilot journey.
Definitely.
That was very fascinating thing for me when I was growing up. So I'm glad I have the opportunity to talk to you and explore the journey of becoming a pilot. And of course, your childhood, learn about your roots and your routes.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get the conversation started.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Okay, great. So Shahrukh, let's get started.
Okay, let's do it. So first of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. And my story goes back to I'm 28 now, as you mentioned. My name is Shahrukh Ahmed. Currently, I'm working with the commercial airline, and I've been with them for 5 years now. And my role is a senior first officer. I moved to Ireland in 2007. I'm born in Karachi, Pakistan. Did my Primary school here, just 1 year in primary school. Then I moved into secondary school here. Did my first year, second year, junior cert, leaving cert here. So yeah, my dad moved to Ireland first in late 90s. My mother, she was a government school teacher in Pakistan, so she was very strict with the school. And then afterwards, I went to college here for 1 year, university. After 1 year, I decided like it's not for me, so I dropped out of there, and I moved to Florida for my training. So I stayed in Florida for about 6 months. I did my training there, and then rest of my training was in Malaga in Spain. So it takes about 2 years, 18 months to 2 months. Finished my training. Then I was just working with my father with his business. Did that, and while I was just applying for jobs, all different airlines. So finally, I got the job offer, and I've been with them for 5 years now. Luckily, I'm based in Dublin.
That's a good summary of your journey, but there's a lot in that journey which we're gonna talk more during our podcast. So when you moved here around age of 10 and 11, I want to understand a little bit more about your roots. You come from Karachi, and how was your schooling was different when you moved to Ireland versus you were in Karachi?
Like here, when I was in, it's similar in Pakistan and India. The school is like, you have to study. Your parents are like, pressuring you to study, study. So I was there, I think, from till class 6. I was in Karachi, and we had a very busy routine. My mother, she was, as I mentioned, was a government school teacher, so she had to go to school in the morning as well. So like we'll wake up in the morning, she's rushing, she's getting us ready, and then we're just out the door. She's dropping us to school, picking us up again in the afternoon, and she had to go to her own school. So like she had a very busy routine. Then we used to come home. We used to take a couple of hour nap. Then we had to go for our tuition. So we used to go in the evening for tuition, study more. Then we had a free time after that for a couple of hours. Then we had another teacher coming to this home, for, so we just had a very busy routine. And school there was very, like study, study, study. Moved here, the schooling was more relaxed because I came in class 6. The primary school was very relaxed, and there was not as much as back home. For me, like I went to school in Karachi, all our books were in English, and our school used to like push us to speak English, which I didn't. But they used to just push us, and if you're like not speaking English in your English class, you'll get like just fine, like 1 rupees or 2 rupees fine. But like as a kid, like you're just like, okay, that's a lot for me. Like, so yeah, so I didn't have that much difficulty speaking English. So I moved here, and then it's just like you just had to adapt the culture, because I was when I moved, I think I was the only Pakistani kid in my class. The rest were all Irish. So you have to pick on their, you have to understand their accent, you have to understand their sense of humor. And the books were like, they were similar to the books what I had. They were much easier compared to what I had before. So yeah.
Were there any Irish jokes around that time, or did it comes after?
No, there was always Irish jokes around, but you just have to understand the Irish people. That's their sense of humor. That's how they go. So I was in city center at that time, so you just had to get along with them. I never faced anything like weird or anything. But yeah, it was always like friendly sense of humor. So I grew up in that. But the schooling was, I think, was much easier here and more relaxed compared to back in Pakistan. Yeah.
Yeah. So your roots are, what I see is kind of between Ireland and Pakistan. You did some of your schooling.
Yeah.
You learn some of that element about that culture, especially your family is from there. So there's a lot of culture values come along with it. But then at the age of around 11, 12, you moved here and you understand and you embed yourself into Irish culture.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now you have an understanding of the Pakistani culture and also the Irish culture, which is to me is a very good sign that you can go from one to another, who you meet and how you meet, and you kind of go in and out. I see this is a big benefit. Anything else you think you add to that culture element?
For me, like Pakistani culture is great, like because I grew up there. Those are my roots. I have to carry that into. I have to show other people, like Irish people, that what's my culture. Of course, I grew up here, so I picked up their culture as well, and I've always been like going back to Karachi in my summer holidays, and so I'm carrying like both cultures. So I'm in school. There was all Irish kids. In Ireland, like I think the most I've traveled a lot of places now, and I think the Irish people have the best sense of humor. So that came from Irish people, just to have a good sense of humor. And of course, for Pakistan, like I really enjoy the food, so I have to carry that here. Of course, in Ireland, like show them what our food is, and the respect that we have for elders is one of the things. Like we need to it's been taught in India and Pakistan. You have to respect your elders. So that's been followed here as well. So yeah.
And I feel very privileged where I know, I've been in Ireland for a long time,
Yeah.
and so as you, that how Irish people and how Irish culture and the communities are, and
Exactly.
then we hold our values,
Yeah.
the countries we come from.
Exactly.
And to me, this is a big essence of this podcast, which I do, is you have these two strong elements,
Exactly.
and when they get together,
Yeah.
it make a powerful bond.
Yeah.
And you hold your values,
Yeah.
you hold your roots, but then you see what is around you and where you
Exactly,
want to show those values and where
Exactly.
you don't want to show
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
That's true.
that's
true.
good.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about your family. So your father had a business and he moved here.
Yeah. So my father had a construction business there, and then he moved here in late '90s. My dad really worked hard. Of course, like people move from. You come from. If you're moving to a different country, you're back to zero. You have to restart again, and so he had to restart in his like maybe say let's say late 30s or early 40s when he moved here. And later on, just at this stage, he tried different businesses. Some didn't go well, some didn't go well. Finally, we've also moved to one of the countryside areas near Carlow for 1 year. Just he wanted to open a new shop there. So after a year, he decided no, it's not for him. So we moved from there to finally we have been living in Rush here in Dublin. So he opened up a business in Scaries, a shop here, a retail shop. So he's been running that, and he works really hard. He's there every single day.
All I say is I can see his hard work where I have a pilot sitting
Yeah,
next to me
exactly. Yeah,
and I'm talking to you. So
yeah,
absolutely that hard work counts.
exactly. Yeah.
What about your siblings?
I have a sister and I have a younger brother. My sister, they have done all their schooling here, like from the young age. So they did Irish and everything. So I didn't do Irish. Got away with it. So yeah, they went to their primary and secondary here. And my sister did a degree in HR in university here. Then she's done her master's as well in business management or something. She's also doing a bit of flying. So I think I passed it on to her. So at the moment, she's doing a PPL flying as well. So I think she's done her theory exams. So her only flying is left. But she's doing it in Dublin. Of course, the weather is not great. So
That's the best weather to learn the flying, I tell you.
So I think, and she also her airport is near Greystones in Newcastle Aviation, something it's called, and it's a grass runway, so it's always wet. So every time she's ringing them, they're telling her, "Oh no, we can't fly today. The runway is too wet." So I think that was a decision where for me, like I moved out of Ireland, so I went quick through my course. But for her, she's been doing a PPL for like a good few months, and so yeah, she's doing that. And my brother, he did his schooling here, and he's in DCU right now, so he's doing computer science.
We will talk about the terminologies you
Yeah.
mentioned about PPL down the line.
Yeah.
But I feel like you need to get a bigger house, bit more on countryside with your own private runway,
Yeah,
so
of
that
course.
the family can practice.
Family can
and
practice, yeah, of course, yeah. My father really pushed my sister, like he before like when I was saying I wanted to become a pilot, they were a bit like they did support me, but like they were a bit also worried for me, like didn't because in my family there's no one in aviation. They don't have any aviation background. They don't have any aviation knowledge, and people are my mother. She's scared of flying. So is my father. Like they're always nervous flyers. So even my grandmother, she was always stopping me. Like she's like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
So at that time they were like for 1 year when I was trying to push them that I want to go into aviation, they were like, no, it's they were trying to give me all other options they had, like go do medical, go do dentistry, go do engineering and all that. But I carried on. I was like stubborn. No, I want to
Yeah.
become this. Um, so but then once they saw me working and I joined the airline, my father and mother, like they never said no to like my sister or
Yeah.
anything. They were pushing them.
Yeah.
Even my brother, like my dad was like, if he wants to become a pilot, I'll send him to the best school he wants. But yeah.
But I think you break that norm.
Yeah.
And one of the main reason why I want you to be on the show is
Exactly. Yeah.
is where we come from, especially
Yeah.
the Asian parents. They want their kids to be either
Yeah.
engineer, doctors,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
professionals
Yeah.
in that regards.
Yeah.
But being in aviation is a very, very rare, and I would say
Exactly.
still very early for the Asian community. And
Yeah.
I think you break that norm, or I would call that trendsetter.
Yeah.
That you started that trend, and we talked a bit about aviation earlier,
Exactly.
before we get on the show, and I find it very fascinating.
Yeah.
When I was growing up,
Yeah.
my dream was to become an Air
Of
Force
course, yeah.
pilot. You watch the movies, you get
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much inspired with
Yeah,
with this stuff, but this is where the destiny is.
of course.
So once you finish your leaving cert, what do you want to be afterwards? Were you always have the pilot in your mind, or was it something else?
So basically, for me, it was like you mentioned, for every kid, that we're growing up, we want to either join the army or we want to go into the Air Force. For me, like, it was always the Air Force. It always fascinated me, like aircraft, F-16s, and all of them. So back of my head, I always wanted to be part of Pakistan Air Force. We moved here, so that was the end of it. I still wanted to do it, but then it's just, you're living here, you just have to go back all the way. At that, I think when I came here, I completely forgot about it, the aviation part that I want to. Yeah, it was the back of my head. I was doing. By when I moved here, I was studying in school and I started playing cricket, and that was my first thing, was that I want to play cricket internationally. So I was playing cricket every day. I started my underage. I was playing club cricket in Pakistan as well. Just on Fridays, I'll go with my granddad. He'll drop me every Friday. We'll just have some practice. So I moved here and I started with my cricket here with Old Belvedere. There was a club. I was only like maybe 12, 13 years old. And at that stage, throughout my teenage, I just wanted to play cricket up till my leaving cert. And so I started in very young age, started playing cricket under 13s. I had a good support from my club at that stage. I had a good coach like Yogesh Paji, like everyone knows in cricket. And he worked really hard with me at that stage. And they've really helped me, like especially Simi Singh and Yogesh Paji were the big part of my cricket here. So at that stage, they trained me. So I started playing under 13s for the club cricket. Then I played under 13s Leinster. And then I moved on to under 15s Leinster and, for Ireland. And at that stage, Yogesh Paji was like pushing me to play, top cricket. So I don't know what was like team fourth or anything. I just went from underage straight to first team at the age of 13 or 14. And it was like Division Two cricket. And they really pushed me and they always supported me. They'll always give me a chance to bat, always give me a chance to bowl. So I played for that club until there was something where, like, financially, the club wasn't doing great. And the club shut down. We played for 5 years there. So I played under 15s Leinster and the 17 Leinster. I captained the side as well. And then once the club closed down, I think I was under 17s at that stage, and I moved to Railway Union. I played like 4 years there in Railway. I was pushing for under 19s, Leinster side. I was playing for Leinster under 19s. My game was to play the World Cup, under 19s World Cup, but that didn't go according to the plan, because the Irish cricket was just, focused on the, like, few families cricket. So they were just focused there, and the same guys were getting picked throughout under 15s, under 17s, under 19s. When then under 19s came around, there were a few guys that were just coming to, like, over like an age of 19, and they were still picked for under 19 World Cup. So after under 19s, I just gave up on cricket. I was like, okay, I'll just play it for my own enjoyment, but I need to do something else. Second thing was aviation. It was stuck in my head. And when I was around fifth year, sixth year time, we were like, okay, I need to become a pilot. I want to become a pilot. I had no interest in anything else.
So you were passionate about cricket, and you basically give good bit of your
I've
early life
to cricket,
young like to cricket,
Yeah.
to be a professional
Exactly,
player.
yeah.
But I think the timing wasn't right, or the environment wasn't set for you to become and reach that level.
Yeah,
And you have to give up your dream of becoming an international cricketer.
of course, yeah.
But there are other dreams in the making.
Exactly, yeah. So in the back of the head, like me and one of my friends, we always wanted to become an airline pilot, do this commercially. So I think I was in fifth year. One of my friends, as I mentioned, Ali Lai, we went to Leixlip Western Airport to do a little lesson on the airplane. I had no knowledge of aviation, zero knowledge. I didn't even know which airplane I was going to fly. Because I never really looked into it, because maybe one of the reasons was we only got internet when I was 14, 15, so I was busy playing cricket at that stage, so I never really paid attention to aviation. So we went for flying in Western Airport one day, and I landed back, and I told Ali, I was like, this is what I want to do. That's it. I don't want to do anything else.
So you get that taste of flying.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I did my leaving cert, and at that stage, I didn't even apply for any colleges. because I was so certain that I will do, this course.
Yeah.
And that stage, like, it's a huge investment. At that stage, my father told me, like, oh, look, I don't have the money. Or they were just trying to, test me, like, does he really want to do it or does he not?
Yeah.
So they were giving me all sort of options. They were like, go do medicine. If you don't want to do it in Ireland, go do it in Poland or, Czech Republic or Bulgaria somewhere. If you don't want to do that, go do dentistry in Pakistan. I was like, no, I was stubborn. I was like, no. So he was like, well, I don't have the money at the moment. Go to college.
But sometimes Shahrukh, the true calling comes because you mentioned when you were in Pakistan, you wanted to be a pilot in Air Force,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And you move to Ireland and you get busy into new country, new life,
Exactly. Yeah.
different school,
Yeah.
making new friends, and then of course, the cricket comes in and you
Yeah.
get into the sports. But in back of your head, there was always
It's always
passion
there. Of
about
course. Yeah.
flying,
Yeah.
and I think that experience at Western Airport
Yeah.
kind of recall that
Yeah.
experience
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
this is something I was thinking
It
and
was
now I
stamped.
want to do it.
Yeah, yeah. From there, I was like, this is that is something I want to do. That's it. Because I enjoy practical things. I like being outdoors. Like I like playing sports, a lot.
Being outdoor and being in the air is two different
I
things.
know, but like still like something practically. I'm not a person who can do like 9 to 5 job or
Yeah.
do like something ID related or sitting behind the desk. It's just not me. Like I just
Yeah.
want to be outdoors doing something practical, or like I enjoy flying a lot.
Can you imagine tell people that I'm going for from fresh air and you are up there in
Exactly.
10,000 feet with the window open and say I'm getting some fresh air here?
Yeah. So after leaving cert, I went to college. We were studying accounting and finance. Me and my friend were both in the same college. I did that for a year and I had no interest. Like I always enjoyed the accounting part, but the theory part was just so boring for me. Like, I had no interest, and my father could see it, my mother could see it. They're like, he's not taking any interest. Throughout the year, I was like, I want to become an airline pilot. I want to do this. I want to go do the course. Even like I didn't even know which schools were there. Like I only knew there was a school in Leakslip, Western, I think, and it was Ali that was exploring the schools, and he brought me to Cork. We went there for an interview. We did some online exam. I think it cost between 70 to 100 grand, 1,000 euros for the training. Now I found the school, and basically we have to go all the way to Florida for our initial training, and then we have to go to Malaga for the rest of our training in Spain. And just before that, I think it was like 10 days before or 2 weeks before, Ali said, okay, I'm not going. I was like, okay. So I guess I was on my own.
Here is your solo flight.
Yeah, here's the solo flight. So I booked my tickets and off I go to Florida.
What was that feeling? Was the feeling of, am I making the right decision? Or was that feeling of, my friend dished me and I'm here on my own?
No, like nothing to do with the friend. It was just me, like maybe because I was the first time leaving home. So I never really explored the outside world. And I was not confident enough. I was there for 6 months. First 2 months were very difficult. I just wanted to go home. That's it. I was just so homesick and I just wanted to go home. So I just went there with zero knowledge. I didn't even know what Alpha Bravo Charlie was. Like instructor was laughing at me. He's like, you don't even know what A to Z was. I was like, no, I don't know.
So what is Alpha Bravo Charlie? Just educate our audience.
So that's how we coordinate. That's
So
how
if
we
you
talk
need to
to
call a name, you
Yeah.
start with, if it's Shahrukh, start with S, which you
so
have
Sierra,
Sierra, yeah.
Sierra
S
Hotel
for
Alpha.
Sierra, yeah.
So that's the language that we use, alphabetic order. That's how we use in the aviation.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, like, because I remember there was in America the airplanes start with N, which is November. So, and I think it was one airplane was like 156. So it was EW, but you would say Echo Whiskey. So,
Any fascinating story of your time, 6 months spent in Florida?
Oh, I had a lot of stories. So I had to work through like really hard for my PPL. PPL is basically your private pilot license.
Okay.
That's the initial thing that you do to get your license. So during that was tough for me because I was behind everyone.
So before you go inside, can I
Yeah.
just break this down in
Yeah.
a simple terminology and help me with that,
Yeah.
right? And we have audience who have no clue
Exactly.
what
yeah.
is this
Most people
aviation and
don't
how
know.
to become a
Yeah.
pilot. And this is, I think, is very valuable for our listeners and probably them or even their siblings
course.
or their
Yeah.
kids to understand if this is a career they want to explore,
Of course.
what the journey looks like. Can you explain in a simple breakdown terminology
Yeah.
that here you start
Yeah.
and here you basically become a kind of a
pilot.
commercial pilot?
Exactly. Yeah. So I started there. So your first license is your PPL. which is your private pilot license.
So before that, you apply, you get your
Medical.
medical.
Yeah. So class 1 medical is important if
Class
you
1
want
medical,
to do
okay.
commercial aviation. Okay. And we renew it every single year.
Okay.
Okay. Don't just
Okay.
normal
So
year.
you done the medical, then you get admission into flying school.
Flying school, yeah.
Okay.
So once you're in your flying school, you'll start with a ground school. Okay. They'll give you information of the aircraft that you're going to fly, the basics of flying, principle of flights, a bit of physics involved, calculations, how you're going to do a flight plan.
Learn the directions.
Yeah, learn the directions. So you need to know your compass. So there's a lot of few for navigation. General
Yeah.
navigation is involved in the initial ground school. So that is all part of PPL. So you do your ground school. Once you're done with the ground school, you also do have exams. In America, I remember there's only one exam. FAA has only one exam for PPL. Where here,
What is the FA?
the Aviation Authority of
Aviation,
America,
okay.
yeah. And here with the Irish Aviation Authority, or EASA is a European, you have to do, I think I don't know, I think you have to do 8 exams or 6 exams for PPL, theory exams, which are
Okay.
basic exams. There's nothing too much into it. So once you do your exam, you start your flying training as well along, when you're finishing your ground school. So when you start your flying training, it's an initial flying training. They show you how to take off, how to, there's a lot of maneuvers involved in the airplane, how to turn the airplane in case you put yourself in unusual attitude, like your nose high and nose low. How do you recover from all that? How to do your steep turns if you need a steep turn, landings, so you overall learn your airplane, which there's a lot of involved, like a lot of flaps. You need to know your flap settings for landing, for takeoff, things like that for PPL. So private pilot license is the initial part that you do.
And that's usually a 6 months training.
No. The PPL only takes about, depends how the good weather is and how quick learner you are. You can do it in 2 months.
So it is recommended to go to a country where they have a good weather and you don't have any training cancellations.
I would recommend that.
Okay,
yes.
that's good.
It makes it very easier for you.
Okay.
And I think Florida is one of the best places. We have like Spain here as well, which is good weather. I think the first part, initial hard, difficult was doing my solo.
So solo means you're flying on your own.
On your own. So once your instructor thinks you are ready and to fly, to do takeoffs and landings, they'll send you out on solo.
What kind of planes you?
We were flying these airplanes are propeller airplanes.
So they just have one propeller, in the front.
of. It's called Piper airplane, Piper Cherokee. We were flying that, and I remember doing so initial solo was 3 takeoffs and 3 landings. You make sure you don't pull too much on the takeoff. So you have
and there is no autopilot who can take off for you.
Exactly, yeah. So you're flying it manually throughout, doing a circuit, come back and land, doing a circuit, come back and land, taxi back, then take off, then come back and land. So initial solo was difficult. Then the cross country solo was a bit exciting for me. So you do some training with the cross country with the instructor. So basically, cross country is going from one airport to another airport, which is like about certain miles away. Then you fly from the second airport to the third airport. You do landings there, and then you come back to your own airport. The day I was going to go solo, it was a hot day, and everything has to happen on that day. I took off. I'm like enjoying my flight, nice and relaxed. Next thing is the turbulence, and your airplane is like bounce, like literally, And of course, you're on your own, and you're like, I'm just sitting there. I was like, okay, this has to happen today. I was literally bounced all the way through the first airport, and then the birds are flying straight into you like big birds, and you're like, okay, now it's time to have a bird strike. but luckily there was no bird strike. Then I got to the airport, and your first time on your own, and there was an airport called Okeechobee, and I had to like uncontrolled airport, so I had to follow the pattern of there was few airplanes flying. So first I just flew over the airport, make sure okay there's airplanes flying. Then I managed to get into the pattern. Then I did a landing there, taxi back, take off from there. Then I had to go to a controlled airport. There I have to do 3 touch and goes, like touch and take off again. I did 2 of them, and it was a controlled air tower. So he was giving me all the headings to fly this heading. And then he turns to me, he's like, oh, now I'm changing the runway. I'm just thinking there, I'm like, what does that mean? If you change the runway, why are you changing the runway? So I told the guy, I was like, okay, if you're changing the runway, okay, but I don't know what to do. And he's like, okay, that's fine, don't worry, I'll just give you headings, just fly those headings and you'll be fine. So I just flew that heading. I managed to somehow land again on third time, took off, came back to my airport. Instructor was waiting ready, like he was there waiting for me. It took me about 2 hours or something, and came back and land. I think from that I got a lot of confidence from my solo. Then the training went on. So my PPL exam, final exam in America, they do an oral exam and they do a flying exam. It has to happen same day. I was sitting around for 2 weeks or more, waiting for the examiner. I think the examiner was on a holiday, and so one of my school owner, he came down to me, he saw me like just sitting around every day. So he asked me, "Why are you just wasting your time?" I told him there was no examiner available. So he said, "Okay, I'll find you an examiner." So he goes back in his office, comes back after 30 minutes. He's like, "Okay, I found you an examiner, and you're going to do your check ride tomorrow in Fort Lauderdale Executive." He left. My instructor came to me. He's like, "Do you even realize what you just done?" I was like, "What?" He goes, "You're gonna fail tomorrow. You're definitely failing tomorrow." I was like, "Where am I even going? Where is Fort Lauderdale Executive?" He goes, "Fort Lauderdale Executive is one of the busiest business airport in Florida, and it's beside Miami International Airport." And I was like, "What the hell?" This is like, he goes, "You will have to get all the clearances. You have to get a startup clearance. You have to get departure clearance. You have to get taxi clearance, and then you can start your taxiing. Otherwise, you won't be able to move." We got to the school. The examiner there was a very nice guy, old guy. He was ex-Navy, and he told me, "Oh, this is my first exam." I was like, "Okay, great." So we went in the room for the oral exam. It took Orals usually take half an hour, 40 minutes. My oral took 4 hours. Everyone outside thinks I failed the oral already. Somehow I managed to pass the oral, and now he tells me, "Okay, I'm exhausted already." He's like, "Okay, go, get your airplane ready." So I got the airplane ready, and when the examiner came, I told him straight. I was like, "Look, I come from an uncontrolled airport. I don't know this place, and I have a flight plan here, and I don't know where they're gonna send me, what clearances I need." He's like, "Okay, don't worry, I'll help you up. I'll just tell you just you have to get the clearances."
Can you explain what's an uncontrolled and controlled airport?
So uncontrolled airport is where you're responsible to make calls. So you have to let other traffic know if you're starting your taxi. So you will let so everyone is on the same frequency in the airport. Okay, so everyone is listening out. Whoever is in the airport, they're listening out to this frequency. So you tell them, "Okay, now I'm starting a taxi and I'm going to this point." So
So it's an open WhatsApp group.
yeah, it's an open
You
WhatsApp group.
communicate to
Yeah.
everybody.
But there's no tower, so you're
Yeah.
not in contact with anyone because the tower controls the airport. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a communication between the airplanes, and you're telling them where you are, your position. If you're coming into land, you tell them. You're joining the
Yeah.
pattern. You tell them. Controlled airport is where there's a control tower and there's a guy in there who's
And they
controlling
manage.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's telling you what to do. He'll give you clearance. Okay, now you can start your taxi. Stop there or stop there. You're clear to land. You're clear to take off. So that's his responsibility. On uncontrolled airport, you see there's no airplane coming. You're like, "Okay, this airplane, no, we're taking off. Runway
Okay.
29 or something,
All right.
So yeah, so that's and Fort Lauderdale Executive is one of the busiest airport, full of private jets. I don't know, like usually the flying exam takes about 1 hour 30 minutes, 1 hour 40 minutes, and you're done. My exam took about 2 hour 40 because I got the airplane ready, I got the clearances, I was taxiing. There was 10 private jets ahead of me, and I had to wait for like 20 minutes just to take off. So we fly throughout the check ride. We do our everything, make sure like he's following the flight plan. He's making sure I know exactly what I'm doing. As I planned out my flight plan, I did according to that. I went to the different airport. We had to, so we went there. We did all sort of landings, short field, soft field. They teach you how to land on the grass, how to take off from grass. So all that landings you have to do, all sort of takeoffs, different flap settings. It's just all involved.
Yeah.
You have to do like different maneuvers. You have to show them how you can recover from your airplane, how to do steep turns, and then unusual attitudes. They'll put you, so you have to recover your airplane. On the way back, again you have to follow your flight plan. So you follow your flight plan. You come back to Fort Lauderdale Executive. When I came back, I was so exhausted. Everyone thought I failed, and my friends that were sitting in the school, they already reported to my school behind. They're like, "Oh, he's already failed," so because he's not back yet. I went in to the examiner. He's like, "You look exhausted." I was like, "Of course I am. I've been here since 9 o'clock in the morning, and now it's half 6 in the evening." He said, "Well, the good thing is you passed. You did everything correctly. You passed." I went outside, and my friends were like, all disappointed. They're like, "Oh man, we've been here since 9 o'clock, and because of you, it's half 6 in the evening, and you failed." So that was, I was like, "Who told you I failed?" So
is that what you expect from me?
yeah, exactly. Because even they were, nervous because
Yeah.
we like it's a different part of flying, and so I passed. I literally put the stuff, all the files in the back of the airplane, and I just fall asleep. And I landed when we landed there. I woke up next morning. I go to the school. I was like hoping they'll be all like telling me, "Oh, congratulations," ringing the bells, all the ceremony that we had. No one is doing anything. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, even my instructor is like,
They were
nothing.
not expecting you to
Yeah.
pass.
So finally the owner came again. His name was Mark. He came down. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I sent you there. I didn't know you failed. That's what they expected that I failed." I was like, who told you I failed? I passed." He's like, "What? You passed?" I was like, "Yeah, I passed." He's like, "Well, we got the cake, we got the ceremony going, and they changed my epaulets and they put like." So I finally got my PPL. So our initial part was PPL. I finished that. Then you come to your next stage, which is hour building. So for your license, for next part, you have to have 100 hours of flying.
Okay.
As
So
a
you
pilot
done your
instructor.
PPL, you
Yeah.
passed that, and now you need to start building your hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once so you have to do 100 hours of PIC. So you do it on your own, basically solo flights. So we used to do that and literally fly all over the Florida, checking the weathers because there's a lot of.
I feel like you just got a new car license and you're driving around everywhere.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
same thing happened. It's just you are in the air.
So you're just flying around doing your hour building, and while I was doing that, the next rating. So you have your PPL now. So next rating is your instrument rating. So you learn to like the PPL is involved with visual flying. So you're looking outside and flying, following the maps, charts, and making sure instrument flying is based on instruments. So you need to learn if you're in a cloud or so how to fly the airplane.
That's where mostly commercial planes
Commercial
come
airplane,
and play
exactly.
a role
Yeah. So
because
we only do instrument flying in commercial airline. So yeah, so I done that instrument rating while I was doing my hour building. I finished my hour building in 100 hours, and lovely time. Best place to fly is Florida. Like you have good weather. Randomly you'll get like thunderstorms and stuff, but you can avoid them. You just look at the weather ahead. There's a lot involved when you're going for a flight. You have to look at weathers. You have to look like, let's say I'm planning to fly from Dublin to Cork. I need to check what the weather is at Cork. If they have any restrictions, there could be runway closures. They can. So there's a lot of planning involved before going somewhere. So we used to do that. We'll plan our 4 or 5 airports. We'll hop around.
Can we finish just your journey from there? So Florida,
Yeah.
you build your hours.
So build hours, did my instrument rating.
Okay.
There's another exam for instrument
Okay.
rating. So once I done that, the same day I fly out, I was like, I'm going back home. That's me done here. I came back to Dublin, and then I stay here for a couple of weeks.
What's the next phase? Do you like become a pilot at that point or no?
So now you have your instrument rating. Now you are a pilot.
Okay.
But you're going towards your commercial part of your.
Okay.
So for a commercial part, you have to have ATPL exams. So these are like the air transport, exams. These are all theory exams, and they're based on 14 exams. So you have to do. So now was the time I moved to Malaga in Spain. So we started our ground school there in Malaga for.
Now this is all commercial part.
No, this is the commercial part.
So you learn how to fly. You learn how to use the instrument.
Yeah.
You pass your medical at the very start. You are fit to fly. You know how to fly.
Yeah.
And you know how to read the
Exactly,
instrument. Now you are moving towards commercial elements. Okay.
So we started our ground school, 6 months of ground school in Malaga. So we were just indoors in school.
Nice weather to be in.
Oh, amazing. And different. So Florida was good. Malaga is great.
I'm already liking it. You are 6 months in Florida, 6 months in Malaga.
Amazing weather. The only difference was in Florida, there is no high terrain, no mountains. It's just flat land. Okay. In Malaga, it's all mountainous. Everywhere's mountains. So it's different kind of flying. But yeah, from ground school, it was great. Lovely weather. We used to live in a nice apartment. And so I did 6 months. And while you're doing your 6 months ground school, you are also taking your exams. So you try to do as much exams as you can. So the difficult part is you have 14 exams. So you have to do these 14 exams in 6 sittings. So you only have 6 sittings to do all these exams.
Okay.
So if you're very, someone who studies hard, maybe you can do 5 exams in each sitting.
Okay.
And get them done in 3 sittings or 4 sittings. It depends. Some guys, and if you don't do all your 14 exams in 6 sittings, you have to do all of them again.
Okay.
Okay. So that's one thing. If you fail one exam 3 times, you have to do everything again.
Okay.
So all 14 again. So you have to study.
And while you preparing and doing the 14 exams,
Yeah.
you still building more flying hours?
No. So
No.
we were just doing exams. So you have to give all your time to that. So I remember the only time we used to go out on was on maybe once a week on Saturday or Sunday or something.
That's a lot of commitment
yeah,
expected
yeah.
to get to that commercial element.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely.
And so because it was quite tough, because if you at this stage is where you have to be serious, because you've invested a lot of money. Like I knew that a lot of money, my dad's life savings have been invested on me, so I need to study. So that just kept me going.
Yeah.
That was the one reason I studied, because I am very non-serious. Like, when it comes, I like playing sports, I like being outdoors. But I knew I have to study, so I just pushed myself. 6 months of ground school, studying hard, every day, making sure try to do as much exams. And I was lucky. The friend I had in my, they all like, they were all same. They wanted to study, so we were all like as a group. We were studying hard, trying to do as much exams I can. So I passed everything and did my ATPL. Once I finished my ATPL, they told me that the apartment we were living in was in city center. The school that I was supposed to do training from was 40 kilometers or 50 kilometers away. It was like a 40-minute drive. And they said, okay, well, we don't provide the transport, so you have to get your own rental car and just drive it to school. Well, I told them I don't have a license.
Can I use my flying
Yeah.
license?
So basically, I got my flying license before I got my driving license. I had a learner,
Yeah.
but they don't give you, rental car on learner.
I'm sorry, there are no flying cars at this point, Shahrukh. So
Exactly.
you have to get a
Exactly.
normal car license.
So I was like, okay, so what do I do now? They're like, well, you have to go back and do your full license. So I came back to Ireland quickly. I didn't even do the 12 lessons. I came back, I did the 12 lessons quickly. Then I did my exam, passed it. I went back to Malaga. Finally, I could start so I got my rental car. Used to drive down, different flying, same weather, but it was a lot of mountains around. So we had to make sure you clear of terrain. So it was beautiful. So from instrument rating, now we come to Malaga. I had a FAA license, which was American license. Okay, so I need to do converted now to EASA license, which is European license. So for that, I had to do a bit of training in Malaga. Then I converted my instrument rating to European EASA. So once I done that, I could move on to commercial part, which was multi-engine flying. So we were doing single engine.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on to multi-engine airplane. 2 engines, retractable gear comes out and goes in. So we started doing that. First stage I needed was a VFR flying, which is like looking outside, following again flight plans on a multi-engine this time. So I did that exam, I passed. Then the second exam was instrument approaches and instrument flying. So with instrument flying, you have to see basically you're flying on instruments. Also, you need to do approaches. These are the commercial aviation. That's how it works. If we're
So they have
landing
their own requirements. the
own
commercial,
requirements, own like instruments, own instrument approaches. There's an approach like ILS approach, VR approach. These are all different kind of approaches that we do in commercial aviation. And so we used to practice that into a place called Granada, which is just outside Malaga. So we done that, we passed. So now you hold a commercial, you've passed the commercial license.
Okay.
I have commercial license, I have my ATPL, I've passed that, and now I'm fully qualified as a commercial.
So what's the timeline looks like? Is it a year to 2 year? Would you say?
It's
from
about
start?
it's definitely 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And do you mind sharing what would be the cost if somebody want to pursue this career?
So the cost is the main thing, because everyone doesn't have 80,000, 100,000.
Yeah.
Some schools are over 100,000. Like, so what I didn't like from my that's what I pass. That's what I want to pass on to younger generation that's coming. If someone has a limited budget, there's two ways of doing this course. So one way is integrated course, where you go to one school and you do your course throughout with them. But the second part is modular course. Okay, so let's say if you go to a school in Cork, let's say they have an integrated course. So there you have to stay there for your PPL, for your instrument rating, for your ATPL exams, and for your commercial. So you do that all with them. That's called integrated.
Okay.
Modular is, let's say you want to do a PPL just for yourself. So you will go to Western Airport and you tell them, I want to do PPL. That's it. So they'll tell you what the requirements are. Class 1 medical is whatever you need. So you'll do your PPL there. Once you pass your theory exams, once you pass your flying exams, you have your PPL now. Okay. So you've paid them for a PPL. That's it.
Okay.
Now you can decide where I want to do my instrument rating. So instrument rating could be cheaper in Cork or elsewhere. The airplane always have instruments. Okay. You need to know your attitude, your airspeed, what airspeed you're flying, which heading you're flying. So you have your compass. So basics are PPL. So if someone just needs a PPL, like you want to do just normal flying, it's a nice day outside. You want to go flying. So you can just do your PPL and you can go off there, rent an airplane and you can go fly.
So tell me, people like me who are still excited about flying, what would entail from a cost perspective and time perspective? Let's say I go to Western Airport tomorrow. What would be for me to learn to get PPL, time and the cost?
You can do on your own pace. You come to theory exams, you do them on your own pace, and then the flying you do it on your own pace. But with the integrated, it's different. You are a student there. They treat you like a school.
So it's like a full time versus part time. Part time you do on your leisure. Full time is committed. Here is the schedule, and you follow that.
But for like someone like who just wants to do PPL, they can do PPL. Then they can rent an airplane. They can go flying and just on a nice day. But for some students that have limited budget, like 60,000, what they can do is they can find the cheapest place for everything. So they can find the cheapest place. It could be in Spain. It could be in Poland. It could be anywhere. Because I know a lot of guys that have done their course in a good budget, and they've done their PPL in Ireland. Then they will do our building. They'll go for Florida because it's very cheap there. So they'll go and do their 100 hours there. Then they'll come back. They'll do their ATPL exams on basically they'll study. They'll have their books. They'll sign up with some school that does ATPL like modular way. They'll attend the classes. Then they'll study. They'll do the exams on their own pace. Okay, but I think there's certain time limit that you have to do all your exams in certain time. I think it's 2 years or something. Not sure. So you do that. Then I know it's much cheaper to do because from what I've heard, you can do your flying in Poland.
Okay.
There's a thing in Barcelona or something.
But again, when you're looking for these options, there are some trade-offs you need to do, right? Ireland could be a bit more expensive. You're close to family. You are here. But if you're going to Poland, you still need to pay for other expenses.
But then the downside is the weather, because the winter they can't fly. It's all snow everywhere. So it just in a modular way, I think it drags you out. If you have time, some people are working and then they're saving money. Then they do their PPL. Then they save money. Then they do their instrument rating. Then they save money for ATPL, commercial things. If you have your budget, you sign up to a good school. Spain has really good schools. Ireland,
So average 2 years and somewhere between 80 to 100K is what we expect from start to end.
If you do, I think that the mentality of the parents have to change. If your kid wants to do aviation, there's the long way. It's a good career.
We'll talk about the luxury life of a pilot. But I want to just emphasize is when you go for normal, bachelor's or degree, you are talking, let's say, somewhere between 20, 30, maybe 40K. But when you're talking about aviation, now you are pretty much double down that figure.
Exactly.
And I think from financial perspective, this is not everybody's way of educating the children. They may not be able to afford that, right?
Exactly.
So I think that higher cost of learning aviation is kind of I would say the restriction in certain areas.
Aviation has always been expensive. Always has been expensive, and it will keep getting expensive because it's involved with the fuel prices, involved with the airplanes. They're not cheap, they're expensive. But I think it's a great career, and the parents should definitely support their kids if they can afford it.
Okay, so Shahrukh, there's a lot to be learned in a short time. What I see, there's a lot of hard work.
Exactly.
There's a lot of commitment if this is a career you want to pursue, but you need to have a passion for it. And I could see, that passion was there.
Exactly.
And you have very supportive family who push you to make that happen. So let's talk about the nice part of the life of a first officer.
So first you finish your commercial training. Then the next thing is, so you're basically going in a simulator. You sign up there's a school called training center called SimTech, or there's an AFA in Santry. So you go into the simulator, which is a fixed base simulator, doesn't move. So you're in the simulator, probably could be A320 Airbus simulator or 737 Boeing simulator. So you go in as a 2, you're not anything. You're just normal pilots, commercial airline pilots. There's an instructor who will teach you an airline culture, SOPs. They'll teach you how to fly an airplane with SOPs. So you're basically learning what airline is like when you're flying for an airline. Then the real thing starts where you start applying jobs.
So before you go into a commercial real plane, you go to a commercial simulator to learn.
Give you a bit of taste of what it's like. So once you do that, they just want to show you how, because aviation is a teamwork. You're two pilots in the flight deck. You have cabin crew. So it's a teamwork. So once you've done that, you get your fancy license, and then you start applying for jobs. That's a difficult part. In aviation, first job is very difficult. People wait, I don't know, years for that. If you're lucky, you might be able to get it.
Why is that? After doing all the hard work, you have all the trainings, and you have your licenses.
Because you have no experience. You have no commercial experience at all. And big airlines want experience.
It's like every other job, if you are a graduate, where you start, who's going to give you the first chance?
Exactly.
So how did you get that?
So basically, you come to the point where you look at, in Ireland, you're lucky you have like low-cost airlines. In Europe, in UK as well. I was lucky I managed to get a job in an airline industry with a low-cost airline. So it took me about 9 to 10 months to get a job. Finally, I got the job. And once you sign up with an airline, they give you their additional training. Okay. So you go, it's called type rating. So every airplane has its own type rating. So basically, they teach you how to fly this airplane. They teach you how to deal with all the emergencies. They teach you all the SOPs that a company has for the company. So you're in the simulators. For me, I went to UK. I did my simulator training there. So some of the training, if you start training, is based on fixed simulator, doesn't move. Okay, you're in there. You're just following the company procedures, doing learning, working as a team, and then you move on to a simulator, which is like it moves around, gives you motion. In that exam, you have to show them you can deal with all emergencies. You can deal with a single engine if you have engine failures, things like that. Then we moved on to a base training.
And now we are talking about this big.
Yeah, so you're flying a jet.
Planes, yeah,
you're flying a big jet, and you do base training. Basically, you have to land and take off, get a feel for it. Then next stage is you get your base, which I got was Dublin, and I signed up for so next stage was line training. So you do your line training, and I did my line training in Dublin. Basically, line training is, like I said, you move on. In this airline, you become, first stage is a first officer. So second officer. Then you become first officer. Then you become senior first officer. Okay. And then from there, either you can become instructor or you wait till you become a captain. And once you become a captain, you can also become a line training captain. Okay. So basically, you're training new cadets. So you're a cadet and you're flying with a line training captain. Wow. So you start, a lot of people are missing this point. They say, oh, there's two pilots, so you don't do anything. You just sit there. No, you start as a second officer. You're still flying. Then you become a first officer. So it works like, let's say you're doing two flights and you're a captain, I'm first officer. So we'll come to work. We'll make sure we check our weather. We'll check our no times. No times are like restrictions at the airport, if any taxiway closures, any runway closures. So we make sure everything is safe, operation is good. If we decide how much fuel we want. So once we discuss that, we give briefing to each other. Then we'll give a brief to the cabin crew, explaining them how the day will be, what we expect. Do we expect turbulence? We don't expect turbulence. If we will be fueling with the passengers coming, things like that. Once you've done your briefing, then your captain will ask you, so which sector do you want to fly? Normally it's the first one. Okay. So we're like, okay, you're good to start. So okay, I'm good to start. So as a first officer, you share same responsibility as a captain. You have to make sure, because you are flying the first flight. Okay. So you check the airplane, you do your inspections inside. The other pilot does it, because you're PF, pilot flying, he's pilot monitoring. He has his own jobs, you have your own jobs.
Let's put it that way. Pilot is the manager, getting you to do all the work, getting the first officer to do all the work.
So like if you're doing 4 flights a day, so you'll be flying 2 flights, I'll be flying 2 flights. Okay. Like if we're doing 2 flights a day, if everything is okay, like if sometimes the weather, the wind is so crazy, it's out of my limits. Initially, when you're junior first officer, there are restrictions on you. Like you cannot land if the wind speed is out of your restrictions. So out of your limits. So there's a restriction on everything. So if it's outside your restriction,
Then
so the
captain
captain
take
has
off.
to land.
Yeah, yeah.
So things like that. But once you become once you 2 years in the company, 3 years in the company, you start getting used to things. And if you're comfortable, a captain will ask you if it's a windy day. They'll ask you, "Are you happy to land?"
Yeah.
If you say, "Okay, yeah, I'm happy to land." So yeah,
You are acting like a captain, even though your
yeah,
designation is first officer, but you are acting
yeah,
like a
because you have
captain because
same,
next
yeah,
next stage is for you is to be
yeah,
captain.
exactly. And you're basically learning everything and learning the getting experience from this guy who's sitting beside you could have 30 years experience,
Yeah.
15 years experience, 10 years experience. So you learn every day basically because everyone does their own things. So you learn different things and you decide, okay, which one is best for me.
Yeah.
So you go on, you get your own experience, then you become a captain, then you have a responsibility of an airplane. But while you're doing this, you're moving from second officer, junior first officer, senior first officer. Then comes a part where you decide you can also become instructor. You can teach new cadets that are coming. You can go in the simulator, have sessions with them, and it also increases your own knowledge as well. So you're going in
Yeah.
there, you become a SFI is called senior flight instructor or synthetic flight instructor. So you're in there, then you gain your experience from there, then you become a captain. Then now starts the next journey. So you're a normal line captain, then you can become a line checker captain. So basically, there's a line check. It's an exam which we do every year. So we're flying, two pilot captain and the first officer, and there's a examiner sitting in the back of us, monitoring, making sure we do everything correctly. You can become a line checker. You can become a line training captain. So you're training the new cadets. Then you can go and become a TRI, which is a type rating instructor. Then you can become a TRE, which is a type rating examiner. And as you jump on, you get pay upgrades.
So if I summarize this, a lot of training, a lot of hard work, but there's a lot of career opportunities. It's not
Exactly.
like you always see, captain and first officer.
Yeah,
There's a lot of opportunities in
exactly.
aviation in
Yeah.
that route. So when are you going to be the captain, or is that what you want to be?
Well, I'm 28 at the moment. So personally, for me, I have enough experience. I'm 5 years in the company, so I have a lot of hours. But I think I still have to get some more hours. Uh, if I stay here, maybe end of next year, I'll become a captain.
But you're enjoying it.
I'm loving it. Yeah.
So any stories being a pilot or being in the plane you want to share,
As a
or any
pilot,
frightening stories?
no, there's no frightening stories. As a pilot, you have to be very flexible, and you have to look after your health. Is the main thing as a pilot, because you're working in odd hours. You don't have same routine. Personally, for me, I'm waking up like 3:30 in the morning, so you need to go to bed like according to that time because you have to wake up 3:30. So you have to make sure you get enough sleep, and then you're coming to work nice and early in the morning. You're flying throughout the day. Then you could be working in the evenings. So if there's no time sets that you
There's
could
no
be,
9 to 5 Monday to Friday sort of
no. So
job.
you have to
Yeah.
adjust with the time. You have to adjust with the routine. You have to quickly adapt. Because you're flying to different time zones. If you're working like on a short haul airline or like you come back to your base, okay, you're not as affected. But if you're on a long haul airline, you have to quickly adapt to the time zone.
Yeah.
Jet lag is a very big thing, so you have to. So aviation is for someone who has passion for aviation, for flying, who enjoys flying. If you go to work, the grumpy face, oh, I'm here again, you will get sick of it so quick.
Yeah, you need to take your job every day seriously,
Yeah,
and you need to build a lot of discipline, as you said,
exactly.
right?
You have to have a discipline, and it's not for someone. I've seen some people that think like aviation is just there to make money, but it's not. Like if you're just there to make money, you'll get very sick of it very quickly.
Yeah.
So you have to have passion for aviation. You enjoy flying, going to different places. So aviation is being a pilot is great. Like you work hard, but also you get benefits. So that's one thing. Depending on which airline you work, like if
Yeah.
the airline I work with, I have staff travel tickets, so I can on my off days I can just book a ticket. I only have to pay like limited amount of like money because I'm just paying the tax. I can just fly to wherever I want on my 4 days off. If the weather is bad in Dublin, I can go to Spain for 4 days off.
that's
There's amount.
that's very nice
Yeah,
perk. I guess your friends are after you all the time with
exactly.
these perks.
So my parents get staff travel tickets, my siblings, and also like my friends, we have like buddy tickets. So we get like every year there's a holiday with friends, and they will know exactly when the tickets will be renewed. They know exactly. So now they're after me. They're like, okay, let's book another holiday.
I just think of if you would have been international cricketer,
Yeah.
you would be giving free tickets to your friends and families, and now you're doing the same thing. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's just a different profession, same
Exactly. Yeah.
benefits.
No, yeah. Yeah. So it comes with a lot of benefits. With other airlines, you get a lot of more benefits. If you're a long haul airline pilot, I know companies, they offer you free accommodation, so they're looking after your accommodation. They're paying your bills, so you're living in a nice, 2-bedroom apartment or 4-bedroom villa. You have nice uniform, cars picking you up.
Nice lifestyle after
Nice,
the hard
yeah.
work. Yeah.
You get to enjoy different, countries, different cities, and different weathers. It could be hot weather. Next thing you're flying, to somewhere it's cold, so you have to be ready for that. Also, your lifestyle is good. Like you get enough money. If you're like I said, your parents are investing good money on you. You make sure you do a hard work, get the airline job. If you need to pay them back, pay them back.
And it is well paid job
Yeah, it's
after
a well
doing a
paid
lot of
job. Yeah,
investment.
it's a
That's
well
good.
paid job. So it's a respectable job as well.
Yeah, well paid job, keep you in discipline. You always learning.
Yeah.
You have a good career progression, and you look cool.
Yeah.
I would say.
That's the main thing.
You have to send me one of your pictures in the uniform,
Yeah.
right?
So that's the main thing. Yeah.
That's good. You mentioned a bit earlier about the story of this young boy. You said, nowadays there's a lot of
Yeah.
information.
I've had few experiences where the kids want to come in the cockpit and they have these like flying logbooks. They want to get them signed by the captains and the first officer. Like you have to put like where they're going, which airplane it is, and then you start talking to them. I had this kid coming in last week, and he knew exactly everything about the airplane. He was only 10 years old. He knew where the throttles were. He knew where the hydraulics were. You ask him, "Oh, so how do you engage the autopilot?" Oh, he's like, "There's a button to engage the autopilot. What's this?" Oh, he knows everything. And I was looking at the captain. He's looking at me. I'm like, how does he know all this? It's just, and fewer times, I've had kids coming in. They know everything about the airplane.
Wow.
I think it's just because they have exposure to YouTube and internet, and there's a lot of YouTube channels on these days, and they literally tell you everything. And now they have like all these simulators at home, 3 screens with joystick,
Yeah.
and they're flying an airplane.
And there's a lot of, I would say, games are
Yeah.
coming where
Flight
you can
simulators,
learn.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what they're giving. So it's good to have knowledge. Like if he knows at this age, he knows that much. I didn't have a clue, and I was going for aviation. So I think just because they have exposure to internet, I think is one of the things.
This is how, Shahrukh, I get your introduction, right?
Yeah.
I was told that you are the first Pakistani origin
Yeah.
pilot in Ireland.
Exactly.
And I said, I need to bring this person to my show.
Exactly.
One, I personally so much attached to being a pilot. That was my childhood dream. And I hope to get someday where I could fly, not a commercial or Air Force, but just to fly.
Yeah.
But I think you achieve a lot in at a young age.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a very different career selection.
Yeah.
But I learn a lot
Yeah.
about how you can get into that
Exactly.
career, and with access to information and with internet and Google all
Yeah.
around, the next generation can easily
A lot. Yeah.
get on this journey.
Exactly.
What we struggle to
Yeah.
get the information to. So Shahrukh, tell me in a very short, simple way, what does your normal day look like?
A normal day would look like you get a good sleep, you get up on time, you get ready. If you're on a low cost airline, so you make sure you have all your things ready in your bag. Some airlines don't give you food, so you make sure you have enough food with you. So you prepare that night before or in the morning. You go to your work. You before going to work, you just pull out your laptop or iPad, whichever you have. You go through the weather, so you know exactly what the weather is going to be like throughout the day, what flights you're doing. You go through your NOTAMs. You make sure you write down anything if you see anything weird, what fuel you'll need. Then you go to work. You meet your captain and you meet your crew, cabin crew. So the captains do their brief. Captain and first officer do their brief. Then you brief the cabin crew. They have their own briefs as well. So once they get the brief from you, then they're one of the superiors, or one of the who's in charge, and we call them number one. They'll give them brief. They'll make sure they have the correct documents with them. So then you get on the airplane. You start your procedure. You decide who's going to be pilot flying first, pilot monitoring. If you're two flights, you take off. you land, you get the airplane ready, you come back and land. That's it. You're done.
Nice.
But if you're 4 flights, so two, you fly two, he flies two. It's a normal day, like but in Dublin, you're dealing with the weather all the time.
So you basically leave in the morning, you're home by evening, and you're done your day's work. That's
or
normal.
you could be starting your work at 12 in the noon, or you could be starting your work 5 o'clock in the evening. So it just depends on different time. But it's always a nice day. You get to learn a lot.
It's been very windy in Ireland all the time.
All the time.
So does it? Are you getting used to of being landing in that kind of extreme weather?
So well used to it now. So used to it now. Like
what we say, right? If you can drive in Asian countries like India, Pakistan, China, you can drive anywhere in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So I think it goes same too. If you can take off and land in Dublin airport, you can do anywhere else.
You can land anywhere.
Exactly. Great. So Shahrukh, at the very last, I would like to ask you, with your journey of being a pilot, what message and experience, or what you want to share with our audience about your professional career. Is that the career to pursue, or is that a hard career? What do you think?
I think it's not a hard career. Like everything is difficult in life. Like if you go become a doctor, I'm sure you have to study 5-6 years. Same with dentistry and engineer or IT. Like IT is very good these days as well. So I think for this career, like it's an amazing career. It's hard work, same like every other career. But you get to enjoy life. You have a good lifestyle, and your progress is great. The money is good. So I think if someone is passionate, they should definitely look into it. And in the coming years, the aviation is just booming. It was before COVID as well. Aviation was great, and we didn't expect that aviation would recover this quick after COVID. It has like so quickly it has recovered, and the demand of pilots. There's new airlines coming, and I think I was looking. One of the airlines require like 2,000 pilots in coming next couple of years. So the money is gonna keep going up, and because every airline is competing to get pilots now. So I think it's a great opportunity, and people can actually progress into this career.
Okay, that's good. Very good to know.
Yeah.
So Shahrukh, it's been fascinating learning so much about aviation.
Yeah.
And I think I still need to go back and learn all the terminologies you were using. But I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
As I said, right, it was my dream when I was young to become a pilot, and having somebody right next to me and understanding their career.
Of course.
It feels like I can go back and do that again, but maybe in a different capacity.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thanks.